What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to the Struggle to Strength podcast, your source for real life application on how to turn your struggles into strengths in all things mind, muscle, and money. Dude, this was a great conversation.
Yeah, that guy's awesome. Definitely got to stay in touch with him. Definitely
have to stay in touch with Tim, a wealth of knowledge, and especially, awesome that he's in the fitness space. So he has a lot of success in the fitness space. He's worked with Alex Hormozi. I believe he said it was Alex's number 2 guy on Gym Launch.
Yeah, he helped him create Gym Launch.
Yeah, super exciting. One of the most successful gym launch businesses in the world. And Tim was number 2. He also raised $325 million in capital before the age of 25. He was the youngest person in the room. Very well-spoken, very well-educated, very knowledgeable, has some great ideas. And if you're a coach in the space, Tim just gave us the best marketing idea ever. If you're a coach, whether you're online or in person, make sure you listen to the end of the episode because Tim literally just gave away a massive book of business with one simple marketing strategy that you can implement. So I highly recommend y'all listen, take notes, give Tim a follow, check the show notes for his information. We'll see you guys inside. I want to learn first a little bit more about what got you into this? I mean, you have been incredibly successful in raising insane amounts of money, $325 million before the age of 25 as the youngest person in the room. Where did all of this start? Like, were you always just the chosen one at doing that or the Neo,
hardly.
if we may?
Hardly. So I grew up on the North Shore of Long Island, and I think a lot of it has to do with the kind of the paradigm that you see. Like, what is the vision? What are you surrounded by? Things like that. And my dad was in finance, and so I think I grew up with an innate sense of wanting to basically anything's possible. But I, on the other side, was a complete nerd. So I was the kid in middle school who brought a briefcase to school, trying to being emblematic of, kind of mimicking those around me that I wanted to be like. And so, at 10 years old, I've got an attaché to morning meeting, and my 2 sisters were absolutely horrified, of course. But I kind of had this, this innate drive of being able to manifest pretty much anything I wanted to do. Was just a function of just go get it. Like, anything's possible. You just got to work for it. And so when I got out of college, I interned in a stock brokerage company, and I knew I didn't want to do that. And so I took a chance of joining a guy who had just started a small investment company. And I moved from the Northeast to Birmingham, Alabama, and he had a good kind of product, good track record, a good story. And I was 22 at the time. And I just said, I'm going to go out and raise capital. And I'm going to meet as many people as I need to meet. I believe in the product that we have. And I crisscrossed the country talking to as many people as would take my phone calls. And we raised it $500,000 at a time, then $1 million at a time, then $5 million at a time. And in that business, the more money you have under management, the larger allocations you can get. In the beginning, you have to pick up the crumbs, but then when those add up to being large enough, you can start to call on some of these larger folks. So in a span of about 3 months, we raised $150 million from 2 investors. One gave us $100 million and one gave us $50 million.
Wow.
But it's amazing. One of those that it took 3 years to get the first 100, and then it took 6 months to get the next 150. And a lot of it taught me the lesson of being in the right place, like the right vehicle. At that time, hedge funds were kind of had a tailwind. Hard work. I met Anthony Scaramucci at his first conference just because I negotiated my way to a ticket. And knowing I was the youngest person in the room, I needed to get comfortable quickly. And so it was kind of a trial by fire, but we were able to be very successful pretty quickly.
I love that. There's a couple of things that you mentioned there that really just kind of hit home for me. And one was the environment that you're raised in. And I always thought that this was something that, Travis, you exhibit very well, as well as our friend Scott, where your fathers were both people who followed their passion. And Travis's father is a woodworker and makes beautiful pool tables and all sorts of fine woodworking art, really. And our other friend, Scott, his father was a rock climber, professional rock climber, just followed his passion. And I think that all too often people in our society, they want to take the safe route. They want to go be a doctor because they know that something is guaranteed. They want to go to college to get a certain degree because they know something's guaranteed. And I always admired the way that Travis was able to just kind of follow what he thought he really was passionate about and wanted to do. And it sounds like you did the same thing from a young age where, hey, look, anything is possible. You can make a phenomenal living doing whatever you want. As long as you're passionate about it, then you will succeed. And you obviously had the tools and the resources and the drive to be able to continue to succeed on your own. The interesting thing is that most people looking at your journey, they probably see the highlight of, oh man, Tim raised $150 million in 3 months. When really you're like, no, man, that took years to get to that point in my life, in my network where I could ask for $100 million. So what was the first investment that you got? Was it that $500,000 investment or did you start real small?
Yeah. So as with everything, every service, every product, you are solving a specific problem and or you have something that makes you unique. And the background at that time for anyone who's listening was, hedge funds at that were the large guys were starting to get a little pretentious, or they were kind of high on their horse. And it was, you should be lucky to invest with me. And there was this, so that was kind of one group of people. The next were, give me your money and you'll be lucky if you hear from me. Hopefully we'll do well by you. And there was a communication disconnect. And so I went out to the marketplace and said, I'm going to be the most communicative person that you've ever met. Here's my number. You're going to hear from me consistently. And I'm going to make sure that that I take your money as seriously as you do. And the reason why that was important is because the first 25 million that we got was $100,000 and $250,000 at a time. And it was mostly retirement accounts from high net worth individuals.
That's super interesting because I was just going to say, there's, you're getting started in a thing where there's probably lots of other people doing that. But instead of being like, oh, well, I'm not the first guy to do this. I'm not even the 1,000th guy to do this. So why would I even try? You identified like, where are the areas that all of those people are lacking? And like, how can I do that? So I'm different.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So we went to like a weekly communication cadence. So every week it was like, just so you know, we're here, money's here, everything. At the end of the day, it wasn't necessarily that they needed an update. It was, they needed safety. And they needed reassurance
that certainty,
the communication was there. So that's how, and then we got to be known as the place, like we got a lot of referrals. So folks that felt comfortable with us. So that helped kind of the next 25 to 50 million a little bit at a time. And then the last piece was we had a great product. And we spent, because my partner and I focused on one part of the business. He was great at his part. We kind of divided up and conquered our domains. The combination of the two allowed us to grow very, very quickly.
I can definitely relate to that. You can't do everything yourself.
That's right.
Yeah. Something I wanted to make sure we have time to dive into is I'm in the fitness industry. Travis does a lot of work in the fitness industry as a videographer and media professional. I saw in your notes that you had built a $1 million annually recurring revenue gym business. And now, is this a brick and mortar gym?
Yes.
All right. Yep. So this I'm interested in because not a lot of people, you don't always open a gym to make a lot of money.
True.
It's tough to make a lot of money in the brick and mortar gym space. And, we're online. I own an online coaching company and continued education firm. But I'm curious, what was your strategy? How did you make that happen? How much debt did you go in with when you purchased all your equipment? What was that like?
Yeah. So I spent about 10 years in the fitness business. And I came at it from a technology perspective first. So my wife and I were actually Division I rowers in college. We were on the crew team. That's how we met.
Nice.
And so we wanted to kind of do something at some point around fitness and wellness and things like that. I was introduced to a concept called Koko Fit Club, Koko Fit Club. And their whole idea was to take the person out of personal training and replace it with technology. So they created effectively a universal gym with a screen on it.
Oh, like mirror.
So 24 hours a day, 7 days, you can, so if you walked in and be like, hey, Travis, welcome, good morning. Today, we're going to do these 7 exercises. We're going to do it in this order. Based on what we know about you, these are the recommended weights that you should be lifting. And here's the pace that you should lift and lower the weight. So it was all prescriptive strength training, call it for general population. That's what got me into it. What I quickly realized was the gym business is really tough. And so at the time, luckily we had our total build out cost about $150,000 in total.
It's cheap.
Which luckily was okay.
Really cheap. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. So I did very well. We opened our first club in 2010. And at that time, there was a lot of commercial real estate available. So we were able to get really, really good rents and some tenant improvement allowances and things like that. So we basically just needed the equipment.
Yeah. Real quick for those listening, if you're not familiar with what it usually costs to open up a gym, Tim opened up his gym and was all in for $150,000. The gym that I go to, my home gym, they just opened relatively recently this past year. And I think they're about $1.5 million in the whole in equipment alone. Yeah. So the fact that you got all that done for $150K, that's a much more comfortable position.
Yeah. So our whole strategy was, it was a boutique concept. So about 2,000, 2,100 square feet. So it was smaller. But I think the thing that I realized, the idea was, 150 to 250 members at a higher ticket than, call it, the rest of the industry. So, we were about $100 a member per month is what we were aiming to get to.
Well, it comes with a plan.
So
you can charge
that made
higher
sense
ticket
to me.
Yeah,
exactly. So we were like, this is going to be quote unquote easy. And I was probably a little naive at the time, where we have a shiny object, and, we did the, if you build it, they will come, fallacy and all of that the first time around. And we struggled to get above 75 members. Then we struggled to get to 100 members, and then we struggled to 125 members. And as you're probably, you guys know very keenly, then churn starts to kick in. And then you're like, God, like for every 10 I sign, I lose 8. Like this is a slog. Like this is a nightmare. But so my kind of struggle to the other side of that was, I was in the definition of insanity. And it was just doing the same thing was not going to get me to where I wanted to go. But it forced us to say, like, we had an identity shift. In the beginning, it was, we are a gym. It's where people work out. We then switched our whole mindset to be, we are a wellness company, and we broadened our offering from just having workouts to nutrition, to supplementation, to accountability coaching. And we took our average price point from $69 to $269 in about 6 months.
Well done.
Did you bring in more clients as well, or did you keep like the same like number of clients and just increase the value, or did you bring in more, or did that also maybe bring in more clients?
Yeah, so I think it happened in 2 ways. So one is, I believe in the concept of, when you're selling something, there are wallets that people buy out of. So in the beginning, we had a single product. It was, you can come in and get a membership. People were paying $69 out of their membership wallet. But we also knew that people were buying supplements. They were going to GNC and other places. They were not buying from us. Yeah. And then they have their food wallet, and they were not buying from us. And they had their coaching kind of accountability wallet that they were not buying from us. So we did 2 things. One is we broadened the offering, which helped our existing members spend more with us, because we were able to dip into those other wallets that they were already spending out of.
More revenue
and
streams.
By having a complete solution, we differentiated ourselves in the market. It was, if you want the $10 gym, go to the $10 gym. If you want to actually solve the problem, this is what it is. And it's more, it's all inclusive. It's more a holistic approach. And it gave people the confidence that we actually wanted to solve the problem and not just sell them something. So our churn went down, our price point went up, our sales velocity went up, our closing percentages went up. So it's completely counter to like basic economics of the more you charge, the less you sell. In service, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way. Your price point is a reflection of your implicit value, and perception is reality, so long as you can deliver upon the promise. And that is what I came to find.
Yeah. And as long as your offer is more valuable, I mean, really, it's kind of like an Alex Hormozy thing. An offer's so good, people feel stupid saying no. Like you get all of these things. And you would imagine it would cost a lot of money, but really it doesn't in comparison. It may be more than what you were paying before, but you were only getting a gym before. So one thing I'm curious about is how did you go about communicating all of this to your prospective clients? How did your marketing, how did your copy change?
So we went from being a gym to being a, like I said, more of a wellness concept. So we actually bifurcated. We split our audiences. So, our core member was 75% of our members were women, primarily between the age of 35 and 45. So our average age was about 42. So it was around like weight loss, for example, was, we're going to give you all of these things. Mrs. Smith, no wonder you have had challenges in the past is because you only had one leg of the stool. What you needed was you needed to move more. You needed to, build lean muscle, which we had the program for. You needed guidance on nutrition, and you needed someone to walk the path with you to make sure that you were answer your questions, make sure you felt confident, et cetera, et cetera. And the supplements was actually what led me to I ended up working with Alex. I was one of I was one of the heads of. I was Alex's number 2 guy at Gym Launch.
Oh, that's great.
No way.
That's really cool.
Yep. So that led to the introduction to Alex, and then I ended up working for Gym Launch for a couple of years.
Oh, that's really cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, I for a while there worked with Jason Phillips, who is currently works with Alex in his mentorship program. But yeah, I mean, very intelligent human, and clearly, you know what you're doing as well. How long did it take you to get to $1 million?
It took us from the time we changed, like kind of pivoted, we did it within 12 months. So we went from, but it was like, there's a book, Red Ocean, Blue Ocean, which many people might be familiar with. The Red Ocean is like, it's red with blood from competition and non-differentiation and things like that. You'll know when you make that switch, because it goes from being competitive on price, or you're worried about what other people are doing. Nobody else was doing it. And so when we changed the positioning, people just started walking in like ready to buy. It was like, oh yeah, I know so-and-so, she came here, she had everything, she loved it. And we implemented Gym Launch, a company we spoke about, pioneered the 6-week challenge. And we introduced the 6-week challenge at $600 instead of doing a free a free day. We were like, great, come in. It's 6 weeks, $600. We sold more of those than we could sell free days or a 30 days for $30 offer or something like that. And it's because people knew we were serious, and the pain was high, and we knew what we were doing, and we could deliver on the promise. And after 6 weeks, they realized this is actually what I believed it to be. And so we converted a very large number, like 80% plus of our 6-week challengers into long-term members. And they stayed for
$269 per month.
Well, at that time, we moved it up to our average ticket was $59 a week. By the time I sold the gym. That's how we got to the $250 price point.
Now, did you run into any pushback as far as having such a broad and holistic offering, and people wondering like, is this something I really need? Because we, at our coaching company, we do have a very broad and holistic offering where we order labs for our clients. We want to see what's happening internally. Like much like you, there's a problem. We need to identify it, why you're not progressing, so that we can implement a solution so that your body can start changing. But we need a lot of data to assess that. So did you run into any pushback, or did most people understand? I mean, from your perspective, it was really just training, nutrition, supplementation, and accountability.
That's right. We ran into pushback from the standpoint of psychologically, people want to try to spend the least to accomplish the goal. And in the beginning, it was like, what is the minimum effort, minimum financial investment that I can put in to get to where I want to go. And we talked a lot about, it's like, well, you've got risk. So, Jane, who, if you were sitting in front of me, how long have you been thinking about this? 5 years. What have you tried? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
You just go through kind of the pain cycle. It's like, so you've spent $15,000 to attend the gym 7 times. You are embarrassed to change clothes in front of your spouse.
Mm-hmm.
You're worried what your girlfriends say. So you're turning down social opportunities, and that, reunions coming up.
Yep. More and more pain, digging up pain.
How much risk do you want to take?
Yeah. Yeah. And it can be challenging when people are in that kind of painful scenario,
Totally.
because it feels like you have the biggest hole to dig yourself out of.
Yeah. Yeah.
Luckily, with your approach, it was relatively simplistic. Ours is definitely a little more complex, but training, nutrition, supplementation, accountability. That's a simple 4-point offering.
That's right.
The legs of the chair, so to speak.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think it was changing the conversation. People generally came in for a gym membership, but they left with kind of a different perspective, because I don't think people necessarily, they don't equate the reasons that it didn't work before with the specific steps until you kind of call it out, right?
Yeah.
So the conversation becomes much more tangible. So it's like, I just need a gym membership. No, you actually need someone, like, the accountability is actually why you failed before. Yeah.
And then most people don't connect the dots on exactly what it was that held them back. It's like, oh, well, I didn't lose any fat last time I tried this and I gained all the weight back. It's like, well, you tried to cut out carbs completely. You sleep 4 hours a night. Your digestion is terrible. And you don't actually do any weightlifting. So,
right.
This is super interesting. It's like, it's very relatable to where I am right now, because like I have a, small video production company, and I have a lot of people reaching out to me looking they heard about me from somewhere else, but they're like looking for a videographer. And what they're thinking, like maybe they haven't like necessarily worked with them before, or they need video done for a specific thing, and they've had a lot of bad experiences with videographers in the past. And I've seen like a theme, like they're all looking for like a videographer, someone to show up with a camera and like shoot something. But what they don't realize is like that video is completely useless if you don't have like a plan for how to use it correctly.
Yeah.
Like there's no point in even shooting it. Like I can shoot some video, they're looking for like someone to pay hourly, a low hourly wage to show up and like shoot a thing. So what I've been trying to like focus all of my stuff on is like, I'm not a videographer, I'm a video strategist. You know what I mean? Like I'm going to help you figure out like, what is your actual problem? Like, you don't need somebody to shoot a video of something. You need somebody to help you like create something that's going to solve a problem for you. And so that's like that's the shift. Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously like that. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I don't know. It's just, this is like resonating a lot with me right now.
So I guess
I think you're spot on.
Yeah.
And it's like the producer, like you really need a producer, you need an editor, you need a videographer. The videographer piece is only one component of the outcome. So you're exactly right.
And it's more like, what are we making? You know what I mean? Like does your business, like, are you just like hemorrhaging money because you can't find employees because you have a terrible like recruiting process? Well, like a video could reach like hundreds of thousands of people that are potentially interested in working for your company, saving you like tons of money. Like people don't necessarily think about it in that way. They're like, oh, we just want to shoot some video of this thing. But in reality, like, yeah, you want to work backwards. Like, what is your actual like real problem? And like, how do we solve that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Though I think the hard part is educating the market and the consumers on that, especially in more complex cases. Like it sounds like maybe yours and mine, Travis, where people may be a little bit just uninformed, poorly informed about what it exactly is they need. What
I want to lose 10 pounds. It's like, no, in reality, you want to be healthy.
Yeah, exactly. Health comes first. So Tim, what strategies did you use, or what recommendations would you have? What advice would you have for people like us in our situation, where it almost seems as though the market needs to learn what the problem really is?
Yeah. So a couple of things. So one is, I believe in solutions-based selling, and selling meaning connecting someone who has a need with a product that can solve that need. So one is kind of solutions, meaning product driven, more solutions driven. That's the first. And the second is, I think I work with service-based businesses, specifically ones with a recurring revenue. So a membership, a subscription, retainer, or something like that. And the whole idea is we look at the product, we look at the packaging, and we look at the pricing. You can't change the price without differentiating yourself in the market. So speaking to here, if you have this problem, here is the complete solution, and you being the one place that they can get that. And then speaking to how do you separate it? So a lot of the stuff that we've done over the last 5+ years is around the packaging. So I worked with this was a couple of years ago, but we had a mattress company that we had an engagement with. And it's like, well, you don't sell mattresses, you sell better sleep and mindfulness. So when you take it from, I need to sell a mattress, you go to, you actually want better sleep and you want mindfulness. So let's talk about your pillow. When was the last time you changed your pillow? 25 years ago. Okay. So you probably need a better pillow. What about like the spray that helps, that helps you sleep better? So we put that in. What about the sheets? What about the padding? And all of a sudden you end up with this value stack of like, you actually don't need a mattress, you need the system. And I think as many people as can move from I sell a product to I sell a system, you will differentiate yourself from the marketplace. You can make a specific you can set specific expectations, and then you can capture as many of those wallets as I spoke to earlier within your organization rather than having them go elsewhere. So you provide the organization and you provide the solution all in one place.
Yep. That makes a lot of sense. And when we're thinking about it in fitness terms, most people, they don't just want fat loss. Most people don't want to just lose 10 pounds. When you really dig into what happens when they lose 10 pounds, they're more confident, they have more energy, they can play with their kids, they sleep better, they have energy to be sexual with their partners and produce better at work and all these other things. So you're right. When you're having these sales conversations, it's really easy to dig down into what the true why behind their journey is. Now it's just transitioning that into easy to understand copy and marketing that you can spread out to the masses.
Yeah, I would say like one actually very tactical thing you can do. If you're in fitness, the best thing I've ever seen done from a marketing perspective is do a challenge, something like that. We did what was called a holiday hold'em. So, you actually got a financial benefit. You held your weight or your BMI between Thanksgiving and New Year's. And then after that, go to a place in town, wherever you're located, like a clothing store, and say, I'm going to do a runway show. Can you help supply clothes for my participants? And so if you're doing a transformation, this works really well. Do like a 6-week or an 8-week transformation. Do starting pictures, ending pictures, give them a chance at a discount to buy new clothes from a place locally in town, and then get a videographer like Travis to film the whole thing of people going from like walking down, showing off the new transformation, the new body that they have, and the confidence that they're inspiring. Do little, kind of man on the street style interviews. Like, how do you feel? Like that will attract the person that is looking for what you've accomplished. And then it's like, hey, if you want to be in the next one, we started on Tuesday, and, go to, travis.com/challenge. We've got limited spots. You got to get in now. This could be you in 6 weeks. So you got to give people the idea of what it is in a very tangible way, and celebrating those successes will start to attract the types of people you're looking for, and set yourself in the market.
And like for me, for instance, like presenting that idea is like that, like presenting that idea as like a production company, that's the differentiator versus being like, hey, I've got a camera, what do you want me to do?
Yeah.
Like that's the type of thing that makes you, that basically what we talked about before. That's what changes you from just like videographer to a video strategist. Like,
For videographer, I mean, for you could do 10 seconds of raw video of like, here's take an iPhone and just don't frame it or anything. Just walk around clumsily, right? You've got 10 seconds of that, and then do your version and put them side by side. And it's like, this is what it looks like self-directed. This is what it looks like in a package.
Yeah.
If this is your wedding, if this is your advertising, if this is your business, which one would you stake your reputation on?
Yeah.
When you're going through this, when you're going through that concept of the challenge and then making a runway show and all that, I was thinking of like these makeover shows. Like what's the show with the gay guys who turn people's lives around? I love that there's a guy named Jonathan who's hysterical on it. Like I love this show.
What is that show called?
Oh God.
We're all having
Queer Eye for the Straight Guy.
Queer Eye for the Straight Guy.
Yes. Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
I love that show. And that's what I'm imagining is like, from where they were. And then they do stuff like that. They do the man on the street style interviews. They do the runway. They do the showcasing confidence and all that stuff. And while that might seem like a pretty big project to, make happen, that would be incredibly helpful. So
it's no cost. You go down to the local place. It's a bartering system. So just give us 20% off. I'll send people your way.
Yeah.
Right. So zero cost to you as the gym owner. And then you do it in the club. Like, hey, Thursday night, we're going to close for an hour, or come and put chairs up and like celebrate celebrate the community. And you just do it. I think we overthink some of these things. Like, don't go rent a ballroom. Don't do the whole thing. Like, do it in the facility, and tag, Jason's transformation, hashtag Jason's transformation or whatever. Vote for your favorite one, your favorite transformation. If you're in the audience, like do a poll on Facebook. Like there's all these engagement things you can do. And you take one product, if you will, and turn it into kind of a community, benefit. Yeah.
I love that. Tim, this has been incredibly helpful. And I love the knowledge that you have and the knowledge that you're sharing, being able to pick your brain. It's wild that we do have some familiar contacts with Alex and Jason and all that. Yeah. But this has been really helpful. I appreciate you coming on and sharing this with us, man.
No, I really appreciate the time. And if you're in the fitness world, I've spent a lot of time there. I share a lot of these secrets as well at timcalise.com, TIMCALISE.com. I've got a free VIP newsletter community. Jump on there and you'll get tidbits along the way to hopefully help you stand out in the marketplace and make more money.
I love it, man. And I'm glad.
Links in the show notes.
Yeah, we're going to put the link in the show notes. I was just writing that down because I'm definitely going to join. To all of our listeners, I highly recommend you go follow Tim and continue to learn from this guy. I mean, a wealth of knowledge. So thank you, Tim. Thank you again for coming on. Thank you to everyone who's tuned in to another episode of the Struggle to Strength podcast. We will see y'all next week.